Everybody loves being able to see their target in a Call of Duty game, right? But what optics have been the best for that? Well, this is probably the most requested topic I've seen in the comment section for a long time. Here it is. Welcome to the channel, everybody. Jimmy, your Chaos. Today, we're going to be talking about what I think are the 20 best optics in Call of Duty history. So you let me know in the comments what you think the best optic in COD history is. Drop a like. And remember, I read every single comment on every single video. I appreciate the love every single day, guys. At number 20, the thermal sight in Black Ops 3. Now, I mean, the thermal has been up and down throughout the Call of Duty franchise, right? But the Black Ops 3 version was pretty top-notch if you ask me. Mid-range scope, it could turn most everything on your screen dark blue, but when it would highlight the enemies, it would be in this super bright orange color. It didn't blur out the background while you were using the scope either, which made it really easy to track people and catch campers. Now, some thermal sights in COD history have been obstructive or blurry, or there just hasn't been enough distinction between the backgrounds and the enemy players. Black Ops 3 version, I think it was everything a thermal sight should be. Perfect way to start today's list. Today's video is sponsored by BetterHelp, and I've been doing YouTube for about 16 years now, and people see the highlights, the daily uploads, the views, the consistency, but what they don't see are the valleys, the low points of making over 10,000 pieces of content in the span of 16 years. They don't see the burnout, the constant pressure of checking views, watching subs. You're only as good as your last upload. And I'll be honest with you guys, I hit a point where it wasn't sustainable anymore. I was always chasing the next viral video, the next spike, and it started messing with my head. So I decided to try therapy with BetterHelp, and it honestly helped me slow things down. Look through it with a lens of it's not all or nothing every single day. But it was more learning how to take small steps and manage the stress and reset how I actually think about it. BetterHelp makes it easy to get started. You take a quick quiz, you get matched with a licensed therapist, you could talk however you're comfortable, whether that's phone, video, or even text. It's totally up to you. And if for some reason it's not the right fit, you can switch at any time. So if you have ever felt overwhelmed, stuck, burnt out like I did, it may be worth checking out. You can click the link in the description, or you can go to betterhelp.com/chaosgaming and get 10% off your first month. At number 19, the GI Mini Reflex in Modern Warfare 2019, the last great Call of Duty. Modern Warfare 2019 was a game where we started to first experience optic overload, if you ask me. Every single gun had a metric buttload of optics that you were never going to use, and they were basically only there to pad out the number of things you could unlock on every gun, which keeps you grinding the game instead of playing something else, right? But that doesn't mean all the optics were redundant. The GI Mini Reflex, it was a nice little twist on the classic reflex sight, shrinking down the frame, making the dot really small, which made it great for close to mid-range fights. Now, it would sometimes get a little shaky and hard to use beyond mid-range, but it's okay. It's not a long-range sight, so you probably shouldn't have been using it like that anyway. At number 18, I love this thing, the aperture sight in World at War. I'm actually not sure how historically accurate this sight is, but man, it was a great part of the World at War experience, so I'm going to give it a pass, even if it technically shouldn't have been there. The aperture was supposed to be this game's equivalent of the red dot sight, and it was really good. It would give you this nice mid-range look at the battlefield while also giving you an awesome-looking reticle to line up your shots, complete with a big cross going through the frame to make it easier to line up your shots. Now, the aperture sight wasn't available on everything in the game, but it was an option for the gun if it was an option for the gun you were running, it was a good idea to equip it. I remember the STG with the aperture. This was one of the cleanest combos in Call of Duty history. I really don't know why Sledgehammer didn't bring this sight back for COD World War II. They missed an opportunity. I mean, I think there's something like it in Vanguard, but as for COD World War II, I have no clue why they skipped it. At number 17, the MMS in Black Ops 2, the millimeter scanner. The short-range scope that was super powerful if you were a slower player and if you were playing on one of the smaller maps, but honestly, it had potential to be insanely strong no matter where you were playing as long as you knew what you were doing. The MMS sight, it would give you this really clear view of the field. Very appealing small reticle. But the gimmick was it would also send out a vision pulse every few seconds, identifying enemies anywhere in front of you, even if they were behind a wall or two or in smoke. So if you were using the MMS on a light machine gun or an assault rifle with FMJ rounds equipped, you could actually see this sight being used for some really cheesy wall bangs, even if you weren't using the vision pulse to its fullest potential. This thing was a really good, solid close-range sight because of the thin borders and the very thin reticle. I mean, it was largely overshadowed by a different digital scope in Black Ops 2, which since we're talking about, let's get it out of the way, we have to. At number 16, the target finder in Black Ops 2. Now, perhaps the most toxic optic in COD history. It completely plagued the multiplayer for a long time, even after it was largely dedicated as the lame optic that nobody wanted to be caught using. there were still people who would sit in corners or hit glitches with a target finder equipped LMG. Now, this close range scope would black out the edges of your screen, but in exchange, you got the big red diamond painted on anyone who was in frame, even if they were covered by a smoke screen. So it became a legit strategy to spawn in with smoke grenades in a target finder, find a corner to sit in, a comfortable one, and then hold the thing up to your eyeball and open fire at anybody who came into view, because what were they supposed to counter you with? It was an ultra lame way to play, but it was a core part of Black Ops 2's experience, and I had to put the OPTIC somewhere on the list. Even if it wasn't a dignified way to play the game, you know it was good. At number 15, the sniper scope in World at War. Now, a lot of people forget this, but the sniper scope actually had to be unlocked and equipped on all the bolt-action rifles in World at War, which means it's technically eligible for today's list. I mean, it was one of my favorites because of how clean it was. Maybe it was something about the sound design, the weapon models. It made it feel extra satisfying using the sniper scope in a game. It was super sharp, and the fact you had to grind your weapon with iron sights to unlock it, it made it feel extra rewarding once you finally threw it on your gun and started going for long-range kills. So yeah, might be cheating to put it on the list, but it's technically an OPTIC attachment in this game as opposed to just being a default piece on a rifle. So yeah. At number 14. The Trojan in Infinite Warfare. IFS was a cool little digital scope that was kind of like the MMS from Black Ops 2, but they tweaked it. The frame was bigger, gave it a larger area to scan, and while it didn't see people through walls, it did give you a live look at them through smoke. Basically, it was the middle ground between the MMS and the Black Ops 2 target finder, which made it a pretty powerful tool for mid-range combat. Now, hardly anybody remembers the Infinite Warfare tech, so I'm betting a lot of you forgot about the Trojan sight, but if you were one of the few people watching my videos who was actually playing Infinite Warfare back in the day, you probably saw a lot of this online. On the medium and large size maps, this thing was super strong. At number 13, sometimes you just go classic. The red dot sight in COD 4. Sometimes the classics are just too good. It was arguably the best one in COD history because of how clear the frame was and how small the dot was. Now, sometimes the red dot sight can actually be weirdly obstructive in a sight itself if it's too big or if it's in a weird shape, or sometimes the red dot you're supposed to be using for aiming will just be kind of fat and end up making it hard to use the sight at mid or long range. COD 4 red dot, nope. Absolutely perfect. Thin frame, small dot, literally everything you could ask for and want from a red dot sight, and Infinity Ward nailed it on the very first try. At number 12. The thermal dual power scope in Warzone 2020. Who remembers this beauty? Now, for a while, this was the one and only sniper scope people were using because not only was it one of the best thermal sights in COD history, but it was also a variable 5 times and 12 times sight, which it made it the best optic in the game for powerhouses known as the HDR. If you're playing OG Warzone, you remember all the times you got domed by somebody across the map with an HDR looking through this exact scope, and frankly, you couldn't blame the people for playing that way because it was so good. The thermal dual power scope never returned, but I do remember all the nostalgic memories I had thermal sniping back in OG Warzone, and that wasn't a lot because I didn't snipe a lot, but this thing made me feel good. At number 11, the EOTech in Black Ops 2. Now, this was the Black Ops 2 replacement for the holographic sight, so it gave you a dedicated mid-range scope with, let's just say amazingness for light machine guns. It would nerf your peripheral vision a bit, but it gave you this super clear view of mid-range combat, and it also gave you a secret recoil reduction as well, which made it even better for weapons where you were holding down the trigger for a long time, like the LSAT or the hammer. It was underrated. It was. I mean, if you're thinking about Black Ops 2 optics, most people think of the sights like the target finder or the more staple sights like the reflex. But the EOTech was really, really good on the right weapons. I think it's my favorite version of the holographic sight in Call of Duty history. If you wanted a dedicated mid-range optic, this was it. At number 10, the slate reflector, I can't even say it, in Vanguard. Now, I'm sure you guys are all aware of the fact that Sledgehammer completely gave up on keeping this game historically accurate, which means it makes zero sense for an optic like this to be in the game. But with that being said, the slate reflector is a top-tier optic. Definitely one of the most frequently used in the game. Basically a World War II themed red dot sight with a super thin frame and a tiny reticle that would never get in your way regardless of what gunsmith abomination you were spamming at that time. Now, I don't have to like Vanguard to recognize there were some good optics in the game, even if 99% of them made zero sense in a World War II game. I mean, whatever Vanguard defenders. I know there's a decent number of you that watch my videos. I'm ready. At number 9, the VLK 3x in Modern Warfare 2019. By far the most popular sight in the original Warzone, the VLK was available on almost every gun in the game. Would not only give you a very clear 3x zoom on your target, but it would also slightly decrease the visual recoil of your gun, which made it a really good choice for a game where the time to kill was long and most people were running 60-round assault rifles as their primary weapon. I mean, the Kilo 141 was a 60-round mag, and the VLK, put it on top, it was a staple of classic Warzone era. I mean, the hidden recoil buff was a nice little touch by Infinity Ward to keep people experimenting with optics because there was a lot of 3x optics in the game, but not all of them actually assisted with recoil. Now, it may have been spammed, but it was good. At number 8, the red dot sight in Advanced Warfare. I know I said the COD 4 red dot was perfect, but then I remembered Advanced Warfare also had a red dot, and it looked a lot different from before. I mean, you had the futuristic setting. So Sledgehammer was given the freedom to redesign the red dot to fit with the times, and they came up with something that was not only unique, I thought it was awesome. The AW red dot sight was much taller than the Modern Warfare and Black Ops versions, but it also had a very, very small dot in the middle and no top frame. It gave you unprecedented visibility while you held it up to your eyeball. I mean, it was also integrated as an attachment on several supply drop variants, but nobody complained about that because there was nothing to complain about with this version of the red dot. It's definitely the most unique version of the red dot sight from the pre-Warzone era. I think it's one of the best. At number 7, the MK3 reflector in Modern Warfare 3 2023. Now, Sledgehammer had a lot of fun making all the attachments for this game. You can tell that. Seriously, I mean, the MK3 leaned into that super fast-paced and aggressive playstyle of Modern Warfare 3. It was basically the Modern Warfare's universe version of the ELO sight, which we'll talk about a little later in the video. Close range sight, small hovering dot in the middle, excellent for close range fights, struggled a little bit at mid-range and beyond, but overall, it was a fantastic optic that was extremely common to see online because of how great it was for aggressive players who didn't want to use a weapon's iron sights. It's one of those optics where using it over the iron sights was pretty situational since a lot of the guns already had good or great close range iron sights, but if you did choose it over the irons, you probably didn't regret it. At number 6, the Kepler Micro Flex in Black Ops 6. Now, there was definitely a bit of an optic overload in the recent Call of Duty games, so it's a little hard for the short range ones to stand out there. There's so many choices, but I think the Kepler Micro Flex is pretty good. Looks like the old school COD 4 red dot, but it's shrunken down a bit with a slightly shorter zoom, which made it better for close range fights while also keeping it very helpful for mid-range. Plus, I swear I'm not crazy, but I do think the visual recoil on this thing is a lot easier to control than it is with other red dot style sights. The Kepler kind of feels like the sight is moving back and forth with the recoil instead of bouncing upwards like most reflex sights do, which to me makes it a lot easier to control or have control sustained fire. I mean, I don't think I'm the only one that thinks that. Maybe I made that up in my head. I don't know. Verify for me. Now we arrive at the top 5. The Jack Glassless in Modern Warfare 3 2023. Now, many people say this is the best optic in the game. From what I can tell, I think those people are right. I'm pretty sure the Jack optic is just Sledgehammer's attempt at bringing the Advanced Warfare red dot sight into Modern Warfare 3 because it's basically the same thing. Classic reflex sight, very tall set of side frames, no top frame, complete with a small reticle for holding onto your enemy. And since it was basically just a buffed reflex sight, that made it good at close and mid-range. And on top of all that, the Jack sight actually had a secret recoil reducer built in it, so you were going to be pretty accurate during your sustained fire than you would otherwise with something else. Top tier version of the classic red dot sight. Definitely my pick for the best optic in the new Modern Warfare trilogy. At number 4, the iron sights in Black Ops 2. It was technically an optical attachment in the game, and for that, here it is. I mean, not only because of that, because the Black Ops 2 Irons attachment was absolutely iconic, led to some of the most amazing clips in the entire Black Ops 2 era. Iron sights were only available as an attachment for the Ballista bolt action rifle, and you probably remember how amazing some people were with it. The Ballista was already a pretty difficult weapon to use effectively, but when you threw on iron sights, it was really difficult to use, but now it was even faster and an extreme threat at close range as well as mid-long. The Black Ops 2 iron sight on the Ballista? Come on, had to be here. At number 3, get ready for ELO love, it's here. The ELO in Black Ops 3. Now the ELO stands for Emitted Light Optic. Very simple concept. Basically the standard reflex sight, but shrunken down a bit and with the top part of the frame deleted so the reticle is just hovering above your weapon. Honestly, not sure how that works, but then again, Black Ops 3 is a full-on sci-fi game, so I don't have too many questions about it. The ELO sight quickly became the go-to optic for every aggressive player in the Black Ops 3 community because of how amazing it was for close quarters combat. And even though it was a short-range scope, the clarity of this thing made it good for mid-range fights as well. Heck, some people even got crazy and threw it on their snipers for the Black Ops 3 equivalent of iron sight sniping. Yeah, and let's continue with the ELO love at number 2. The ELO in Black Ops 4. It returned in Black Ops 4 for basically every gun in the game, and it was once again a top-tier choice. It was once again basically a buff version of the red dot sight where it had a closer zoom, but with even less obstructive framing and a smaller reticle so you could perfectly track your enemies at close and mid-range. Plus, this time around, there was actually some customization options for the reticle, so if you didn't like the default one for some reason, you could do something else. I mean, whereas the Black Ops 3 version only let you use the default yellow dot reticle, right? The ELO was a fan favorite in Black Ops 3 and 4, both deserving of top 3 spots. You may disagree which one deserves to be higher, but they belong here. And since we're talking about the ELO sight, let's go ahead and wrap up the video, complete the trilogy at number 1 today, the best COD optic, the ELO and Infinite Warfare. Now, Infinite Warfare didn't have a lot of things going for it, but the ELO sight was one of the best in COD history. It had the smallest zoom out of all the optics in the game. It was also a super clear frame and a very nice yellow reticle that was hovering in the middle of the screen, and it activated a little ammo counter above the bridge of your weapon, so you didn't have to take your eyes off your target if you need to check your bullet count. Plus, you could actually customize the reticle on this version of the ELO, so you didn't have to have the yellow hovering one. You could swap it for something smaller, different color, different shape, whatever you wanted. So even though Infinite Warfare may be one of the most hated Call of Duty games of all time, I think it had the best optic in the entire franchise because it perfectly took a sight that people love from Black Ops 3 and it made it better in every single way, to the point that there were legitimately zero flaws with it. And there you have it, my friends. Let me know if you got it, and let me know if you agree. I'll see you soon.